Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Diaspora Dialogue series with LA. I am Lillian Agwegbe, your host on this program. I'm excited to welcome you to another episode where we are having conversations with members of the diaspora. We are getting to know them, getting to learn about the beauty of the homeland they left behind, the blessings of the new land that they have come into, and the benefits of global integration as it were. What are they doing to stay connected to the homeland? How is coming to this new land a benefit to them and to the world at large? Today, my guest is joining me all the way from New Jersey. Babajide Ajisafe, you're welcome to the Diaspora Dialogue series with LA.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Lillian. It's nice having me. Thank you.
Great. So Jide, of course I know you, but let's for our viewers tell us some basic things about yourself. Who is Babajide Ajisafe?
Well, Babajide Ajisafe is a husband, a father, and of course, I don't mean to spiritualize it. I'm also a child of God, and
Amen.
I'm also a business owner.
Awesome. Awesome.
You.
So even though you said you didn't mean to spiritualize it, the truth is we know ourselves by way of faith, actually. We were both members of Christ Chapel International Churches in Lagos, Nigeria, and we were members of Patmos Playhouse. So, Jide, let me dial back to the beginning. We usually like to start from when people were growing up. You talk about being a business owner. When you were young and when you were growing up, what did you think you were going to be when you grew up in terms of career-wise? What did you think you were going to be doing? And what influenced
Oh,
your
okay.
choice?
Oh, okay. So thank you so much for that question. Honestly, you are not the very first person to ask me that question or to ask anybody that question, but I must be honest to you and the audience over there that I didn't have any idea when I was younger. Growing up, I didn't have any clue. However, I happen to be very talented and gifted. I can draw and I can paint. So I believe as a result of that, that is what influenced me. If I'm going to answer the second aspect of the question, that what influence, is that I ended up, using that my skill to be able to draw. You can give me brush and color and different colors, and I'll be able to paint, and you'll not be able to differentiate the difference between photography, picture, and the one that I paint. So as a result of that, I ended up learning a trade, and that is how I became graphic design. And in addition to that, from being graphic design, I will need images here and there. I also learned photography. I ended up also learning a little bit about printing. So that is how I became self-employed while I was in Nigeria as a business owner. And then coming to the US, I decided to also pursue the same thing.
Awesome. So there's so many things in there. There's graphic designing, printing, photography, and the whole works. And you talked about coming to the US. So let's see how that happened. Did you did you always know that you wanted, you said you didn't really know about profession wise, so your skills detected for you. What about coming to the US? Did you always know that you were going to come to the US? How was that a dream? Was there a manifestation? How did the crossover happen for you?
Well, honestly, um, excuse me, what I never thought or dreamt of seeing myself in the US. So when I was little, no, not like really, really little, but in my teenage years, I have this friend that, we went to barber shop one day, and he just looked at me and he said, "Jide, do you know you just looked?" He said to me, "You look like this Black American." I was like, "Come on, stop flattering me, mushy boy for that matter." So I just pushed that aside. And as soon as we got to the, barber shop, the guy that was about to cut our hair just said the same thing.
Oh,
So,
wow.
this guy looked like those Black American. And I was looking at myself. It's not like I was well dressed.
Uh-huh.
So, and then later I have seen and I have heard, I can tell you that I've lost count
Hmm.
of men of God, women of God that
Hmm.
asked me, Jide, when are you going to the US? When are you going to the US? When are you going to the US? Do you know that late Pastor Taiwo Odukoya is one of these men of God? Okay.
Wow.
Since you've made it known that we used to, attend the same church, likewise, Reverend Bayo Oniwide. Okay, so I can go on and on and on. And so, just to top everything, I filed for my mother, and she came here a week after. I said, let me just drive her and have fun and,
Mm-hmm.
let her see the neighborhood. And all of a sudden, I saw my mother lost shedding tears. Like I was looking at her, I said, Mom, you okay?
Uh-huh.
Uh, are you tired of the US
Uh-huh.
all of a sudden within these 5 days or a week? She
Uh-huh.
said, no. Oh, is it my wife? She said, no. Oh, is it my mother-in-law? Because my mother-in-law was with us. She said, no. Is it the children? Are you missing them? She said, no. She now breathed in and breathed out. She said, no, it's just like there is this prophecy that they gave her before I
Hmm.
was born. Then I was shaking. I have to pull over. And she
Wow.
said, after she welcomed our first child and then the second child, then my father was misbehaving
Mm-hmm.
and she did everything to save our marriage. And then she said, well, you know what? I'm done. I have a boy and I have a girl. So she left Lagos to travel back to our village in Ondo State.
Hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And a man of God told her and said, woman, what are you doing here?
Hmm.
You are just wasting your life. You know what? You have to go back to your marriage. You are going to have a child, and specifically, it's a male child.
Hmm.
Through that child, you will go to overseas.
Wow.
But the thing is, they did not specify which part of overseas, but they will go.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know what? My mom said to me that she was so stubborn. She said, oh, maybe my father has come to send somebody to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So she now left the village and traveled far back, far
Hmm.
from our hometown. And she settled down with my brother and my sister. And the struggle continued. And all of a sudden, this time around is a woman,
Hmm.
prophet. So she said, oh, woman, why are you wasting your time? Why are you wasting your life? You know what?
Wow.
Go back to your marriage. That gentleman you left is not him. It's just friends and people around him. You have to return. You have to be patient. You will have a child, and through that child, you will go to overseas. That is when my mom said, "Wait a minute,
Somebody has
nobody,
said this
nobody knows
before.
me here." And
Mm.
she returned to Lagos. And long story short, she now gave back to me, and he said, ever since then, a lot of things just changed. And I was like, why? What stopped you from telling me all of this thing about myself? And I
Hmm.
was like, probably 40, because I have heard all these things elsewhere, and you are
Hmm.
my mother. So she said, Jide, I just don't know.
Wow.
Sad was how we just hugged. And then I was like, oh, no wonder I've lost count of prophecy. So when I went to the embassy, it was 3 days before, 3 days after they opened the American embassy due to the 9/11. And
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people were telling me, oh, Jide, they might use that against you. Do not postpone your appointment. I was like, well, it's not a big deal. As a matter of fact, I'm doing so well at that point in time. So long
Mm-hmm.
story short, I refused to postpone it. Guess what? The lady was asking me questions. She was the one responding. And I never saw that because a lot of people were just in front of me, they were turning them away.
Mm-hmm.
And so, anyway, that is my story, and that is how I see myself here. But in terms of something that I've nursed or thought,
Mm-hmm.
thought about, not at all, not me.
Wow. So this is kind of like an example of God knew you before he formed you and it was ordained
Correct.
you,
That is
and this
correct.
was all in your future.
Yeah.
Awesome. So all these men of God and all of these people who were telling you that you were going to, did they tell you how it was going to be abroad? How was actually, it was one thing to say go abroad, it's another thing to actually come here and be here. So when you got here, how was it? Were you surprised? Did everything go exactly as you expected? You know, I was talking to somebody the other day, and she said, you know how those stories they say you pick money on the floor and all of this wonderful stuff. What was it? What was it like your experience, actually being here, and what sort of experiences particularly stand out for you as like, interesting?
Well, I'm not going to lie. As soon as I arrived at the JFK airport
Mm-hmm.
and I walked out of the airport and I looked at everything around me, I was like, wait, I don't think I bought any connecting flight. And I know this is the person that I'm seeing here waving his hand, lives in
Mm-hmm.
this country. So I'm already here in my final destination.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just like looking at the whole atmosphere. Of course, I was expecting in all these tall buildings and what have you. So, and in terms of the way I, find myself and settle down, it wasn't really a pleasant experience, but I kind of holding on because of what it has been said. It's just like the story of Joseph. Of course, something he knew about what he dreamt of, but
Mm-hmm.
it didn't come so smoothly. So that was how I, see myself. And it came as a surprise, but because of what has been spoken, I just said, Lord, if you can do this, and I will just remember how the interview just went so smoothly. I have
Mm-hmm.
never, when people have made first attempt, second attempt, third attempt, I
Mm-hmm.
happen to be number fifth, and they say no to all of those people. And so because of that, I was just using that to hold on and say,
Mm-hmm.
God, you will perfect everything, you will make a way. So that is just how that goes.
Great. Well, in terms of yeah, not being perfect, but are there some experiences that you remember that stand out? Like, I mean, some of the guests that I have had on this program, for instance, Kumi was saying how, one of the shockers for him was how expensive blue collar workers are, which we'll call unskilled laborers in Nigeria. It's like, for him, it was like you just go and call somebody to come plumber and call the carpenter and call all of that. But it's like getting all of those services cost an arm and a leg here. Do you have any experiences of some certain things that you were just like, wait, what is going on here? That was like a surprise to you and very distinct and different from what you had experienced in Nigeria.
So could we say that in terms of culture shock?
Yes.
Well, it's just what I will just say as far as that is concerned is when probably I was going to New York and I saw someone, a pregnant woman, and I've seen the passengers, but nobody ever show any concern,
Mm-hmm.
any care, something. So, and then I had to vacate my seat
Mm-hmm.
and I called her to come and sit down, and they were just looking like me away. Are you her husband? Are you responsible for? I was like, what kind of question is this? Because normally back home in Nigeria, that is what we will just want to do to make sure that we show that we care and all that kind of a thing. Yeah, so that is just what I will say that
Mm-hmm.
my own experiences. And also apart from that is when I ended up, in school,
Mm-hmm.
and we were told to use calculator, and I was struggling using that calculator, and I just asked for a plain sheet of paper to solve my maths.
Mm-hmm.
And the professor was like, why are you wasting your life and your time? Use your calculator. I said, okay, I will use it. I just pushed the calculator one side and I ended up using the format that I'm used to back home, whereby we
Mm-hmm.
will just do all the things. And so later she asked me and I told her I'm from this country, and she said, oh, now I can relate. So for me, I was like, you are allowed to use calculator? No way. It came so as a shock to me.
Yes, that's interesting. The first example you gave was really very surprising to me because my experience is actually on the opposite, coming to the US and finding out that they're actually trained to stand up for the elderly, for pregnant people or people with children, because I don't know that that was, maybe I didn't take public transportation a lot in it, but I don't know that that was things that people were very particular about. It's like we have a lot of respect for elderly, definitely, but to actually have seats, in the bus on the front side of the seat, they actually tell you that this sitting area is designated for pregnant people or for elderly. And if you sit down there, you have to get up,
Or
if
for people who are disabled.
yes, or people who are disabled, you have to get up, so they have that special designation. When I was in Nigeria, I don't know whether they have it now, but there's really no special designation for anybody like, all of that. But, so that's interesting that you had that experience where you actually stood up for a pregnant person and people didn't seem to appreciate it. And then the second one you said, which was the one I talked so much, I forgot about. What was that second one you said again? Because
Or
I
the use of calculator.
Oh, the use of calculator, yes. And that one, what fascinated me about that one is when you go to the stores. You go to the stores, if their system is down, they really can't serve you because they cannot calculate
Oh
unless the
wow.
machine tells them, how much your change is. I don't know if you've had that
Oh
experience.
yeah, that is true.
You know,
That is.
they, they cannot, and you're just
Oh,
like,
they cannot.
yeah,
Everything will be on the standstill.
yes, everything is a standstill. And like, yeah, you're saying that, they actually we're not, I don't even think we're allowed to use calculators when I was in school, for your exams or
No,
stuff like that.
no.
But you find that it's so standard, you can use them all through the learning and then all the store attendants. Yes, so that I definitely see how that calculator thing worked. So now you're in America, you've lived here. For all of these years, what would you say were the blessings of this new land? What do you think that you've been, are there some things that you think that if you hadn't come to America, you probably wouldn't have done them? What do you think what's the big difference that you would say America has made in your life coming to America?
Oh well, I think as far as my own story is concerned, it will
Mhm,
just be this area of education
mhm,
because I was born without a silver spoon. My parents were poor.
mhm,
And like I said, I was born somewhere in Moshi. So what was trending that time, as far as those people that I grew up with, would be like 419, that is called or known as Yahoo now.
mhm,
Um, what is it? What else? Armed robbery,
mhm,
drugs, and everything. So my father was a carpenter, and he was so loved by people to the extent that students from OND, HND, they will come and do their internship, and they will say that, oh, they want, Pius, they want, his name was Pius, and, it was also a twin, Taiwo Pius. So, when something is done like a project, you dare not argue because already without him using measurement, using his T-square, he can
mhm,
just tell you. So as a result of that, um his boss happened to be from UK. There's so
mhm,
much love him. So but he didn't have this opportunity to acquire education, and there was this time he was supposed to travel to UK. He could not even communicate. All right, the only thing my father knows how to do is just to use his initials to sign in somewhere in Surulere local government council at that time. So because he lost that opportunity, it was such a pain for him because he didn't
mhm,
have that education. So he told me and my siblings, he said, well, you know what? I am not going to dictate for you. Anything you want to do in life, just make sure that you had education to that.
mhm,
So now going back to your question, that is what my father, instilled on the inside of me. So when I finished my school certification, which is also called WAEC, I don't know what name they call it now.
mhm.
I wasn't expecting anything spectacular because me and my friends, we are just in the family of F9s. So apart from apart from what I told you, that fine art, I know starting from class two, I've been representing my school in competition with the set of class five. And apart from that is French language. So those two, I didn't do so well. So after two tries of WAEC and GC, I didn't make any, I didn't make my result. I ended up going to look for a place where I can learn graphic design. And I finished from that graphic design. I did so well. And then I started having jobs. A lot of my boss, client, they were now patronizing me. So, and because of this money, I still didn't want to just, live my life without education. So
Okay.
that was how I ended up writing. This year to be WAEC,
Mm-hmm.
next year GCE,
Uh-oh.
another year to come. So I did that for 10 years consecutively.
Are you for real?
I'm not making this up.
Oh my
For
word.
Why? Because of what my father told me. They were not the one, my father and my mother, they never, like force me. It got
Mm-hmm.
to the point, the type of money that I was making that time as a
Mm-hmm.
self-employed. Some people were telling me, Jide, okay, once you're done and you're ready for your housewarming, let us know because
I know, right?
you just don't want to buy a car for yourself. So,
Mm-hmm.
okay. So now to fully answer that question, right?
Yeah.
I am in the US,
Mm-hmm.
and then I gave it a shot by going back to school.
Mm-hmm.
So at what age? I will say I was 43 years with a wife, with
Wow.
two children. And I
Wow.
found that because of what my father told me, I was like, I think I can still do this. I can still do this. And
Wow.
with a little differences in their written English and
Mm-hmm.
spoken English, where you write favor is different from. So I
Yes,
started
yes.
try, and as many people that I was telling, oh, Jide, if you go to school, by the time you graduate, you're going to be 50. So I told them that even if I don't go to school, I'm going to be 50. So long story short, I was about to go back to college. I went to, sorry, a private school called the Chubb Institute. They've changed the name right now, which is
Okay.
diploma. Something told me it is better for me to do this right. So that
Mm-hmm.
was I summoned courage and I zipped my mouth. I'd never shared it with anybody again. And that was how I enrolled. It wasn't easy, but
Mm-hmm.
I still was pursuing it to make sure that I got admission 4 years college, even though it took 5 years as a family man.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was what I can say to properly answer the question that if I am in Nigeria,
Yeah.
perhaps might have been some sort of strikes here and there that can frustrate that passion,
Mm-hmm.
that skill. But here, I mean, I was able to, and I can say that that is what, I can say that if I'm still in Nigeria, I probably will not be able, I probably will have given up.
Wow. Wow.
Yes.
So that's awesome. So coming abroad allowed you to go back to school even in your 40s with a wife, with children, and you also have the opportunity for and then you now talked about that's really awesome. So let's talk again about you said you went back to school when you had children and you had wife and children. What would you say are some marked differences between how you raised your children here in the US and how you were raised in Nigeria?
Okay. I will say that for some reason, I have to just caution myself in terms of spanking. So I I kind of bought few materials here and there,
Mm-hmm.
but the way I was raised, right? My
Yes.
mom can just pass me to any neighbors, and then once she's done with her trade, she will come maybe late in the evening. She will pick me, and we continue our our life from there. Right. So to the point that anytime my mommy is, she's having conversation with me in Yoruba,
Mm-hmm.
I'm responding in Calabar language
Uh-oh.
because those neighbors are, they happen to be Calabars. Okay. So, but sometimes it might be maybe, her cousin or
Mm-hmm.
anybody. But
Mm-hmm.
here in America, it's not like that. All right. If you don't have what is it called right now? You have to probably have someone to come and take care of the of the child or children.
Yeah.
And if you cannot do that, you look for, someone to babysit
Mm-hmm.
and things like that. So when my parents are talking to me, it's not like I cannot explain myself, but
Mm-hmm.
there is a way you will look down, sort of.
Mm-hmm.
But here, the children, they look straight to your face and
Yeah.
you build you're on the same level. But like I said, after a while, I, learn the culture, master the culture, how they are, um, things like that is being done here. I quickly adjusted.
Yeah, you adjusted and did away with spanking. You know that you can't leave your kids with the neighbors to watch for you, and kids might look you straight in the eye because that's what they do here. That's
Correct.
interesting. Um, let's look a bit about the beauty of the homeland. I know that you're here now. You've been fortunate to go back to school, raise your kids in with the different values. Are there some particular things about Nigeria that you miss, even though, it's like, yeah, yeah, in the almighty America, but you just wish like, oh my goodness, this thing about Nigeria, I wish, they could practice it here, or you would actually don't mind traveling home to have that experience. What comes to mind when you think about something like that?
Well, thank you. For me, it's just something that my own personal experience, like I said earlier, that being the fact that I was self-employed throughout in Nigeria.
Mm-hmm.
So I miss this aspect of, it's not like I cannot attend events here, but
Mm-hmm.
that aspect of just attending event, when I mean attending event, just like something that is, impromptu
Mm-hmm.
event, I can, give instruction to people that are my apprentices, and I think I have four apprentices, and two staff while I was in Nigeria.
Yeah.
So I can just afford to leave that business. And of course, it's not going to affect delivery date. And I will go attend the event. It could be to visit. If it is event, I'm talking about maybe someone just have baby and it's time for naming ceremony. I
Mm-hmm.
will just go there and I will say to myself, after working, I should be able to go and refresh myself and have fun. I will attend the naming ceremony. I may even have another friend around. I will just tell the person, come on, let's go and do and attend this naming ceremony. It could be weddings, it could be anything. And if it is visit as well, perhaps someone that is in the hospital or maybe is not the person is not in the hospital but somewhere at home. I just want to go and visit and just let me say, so, but for here, it's not something because even though I have my business that I'm running part-time, but
Mm-hmm.
the fact that I have full-time job and I have to also make sure that I check my children's homework to make sure that nothing, as far as school homework is concerned, nothing is missing.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot do that. Nobody will just tell me something and say, Jide, we want to come and follow me to this event. I cannot do cannot do that because I'm sorry though, family come first after the full-time job, then after the part-time that I have to deliver to clients. I still have to balance my life. No, that is no. And there was a time I was supposed to go and visit someone in the hospital, maybe a few days.
Mm-hmm.
I heard that the person has, gone to be with the Lord.
Yeah.
Something inside of me, I feel like, oh, I didn't show love enough, but it wasn't intentional. It wasn't my fault. So all those things, I am kind of missing that,
Yeah, your time is pretty much your own.
correct.
I think my last guest, no, it wasn't, it was two guests ago. One of the things she said, when she came here was the reality that there are bills to pay. So you have to work, come snow, come rain, come whatever. You're out there and you're doing the work. And so I think what you're saying is, and I know that that's true. Yes, somebody can just show up last minute, and it actually just happened to me earlier today. Somebody, and of course, this is somebody who doesn't live here. So I'm doing some work with somebody who doesn't live here, and the person just called me and said, "Oh, So I'll call you back in 30 minutes on that issue. And just shaking my head. I'm like, that's not how it works. I have a calendar. I plan my activities. You need to plan your activities. Your time has to be structured. I'm doing this and I'm doing that. And you just can't, things don't get on your calendar. You don't have an open calendar. Whereas you might be able to get away with working with an open calendar in Nigeria, where you can just put anything. But here you actually have to be more structured in how you plan your activities.
Yes.
Yes, awesome. So we've looked a little bit, about the beauty of the homeland where, that's that flexibility where you can just do things as you like. We looked at the blessings of the new land where you got to go back to school and you learn that education. Let's talk a little bit about the benefits of global integration because, what if somebody says, oh, but you should have stayed in Nigeria, what's the big deal? Nigeria needs you more, or something like that. What would you say to the conversation about, oh, Nigeria needs you more, you should have stayed in Nigeria, or you should be retiring and going back to Nigeria? Now, let me ask. So I'm asking two questions. One is, I guess I should start with that first. Are you thinking, is there a retiring and going back to Nigeria in the future for you? What's your take on that?
All right. So I heard this phrase, and I don't know where that phrase, where that phrase come from.
Mm-hmm.
The phrase is never say never.
Mm-hmm. Uh-huh.
So yeah, to be honest, for me, I am really open
Mm-hmm.
to go back. At the same time, I still don't have any reason if I still want to be here
Mm-hmm.
without being here. It's just that I still don't know. I need to. It's something that because with my children, if they would like to come with us, with me and my wife, okay, sure, why not? Because I don't know if you've been able to, like listen to them. They speak Yoruba so fluently, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of songs and artists, and just to mention a few about our culture that they do. But there is this news about when I'm in news, the negative aspect that can be so scary to them. And anytime I'm going to Nigeria, my wife is going to Nigeria, it's like they have to go to God and spend, I don't know how many nights of vigil that Lord, let this man come back home. So I still want to see my children and continue to, bond with them, even though they are still going to be on their own, they'll be independent, they'll be settled down and married, but I still want to have that, access with them, my wife and I. So, but if I relocate to Nigeria, I don't know how that will be possible, even though I'm preaching that to them to let them know that, but with all this insecurity, it's something. So if I refuse not to go home to Nigeria again, yeah, so that's it. I will
Yeah,
be here.
I know.
But for the sake of the children, I would like to be here. But if they are still willing,
Mm-hmm.
even if they don't want to relocate finally, I don't care, but they can still come in to say, I want to go and check on mommy, I want to come and check on daddy, and they bring their wife, children, family, that kind of a thing is what I want. Not just for them to completely, totally disconnect from Nigeria.
Yeah, speaking about, connected. So how do you stay connected to Nigeria and to Nigerians, both here? How do you stay connected to Nigeria and Nigerians here and in Nigeria?
Not necessarily in terms of, like having conversation with them over the phone, right?
Yeah, not necessarily in terms of like, are you able to keep in touch with Nigeria? What's going on in Nigeria? Do you stay connected with that? Do you stay connected with Nigerians here? So if somebody runs into you, will they know that you're Nigerian? Do you
Oh,
keep
yes.
that
So
interaction?
definitely. Okay, sorry. Yeah, definitely I do connect, because there was a time I was talking to someone, and she was shocked that she said, Uncle Jide, I am know that you are still in the US. Otherwise, I will have challenged you and say, when did you relocate to Nigeria and you didn't let us know? Why? Because of the type of update and what I was telling her that just recently happened in Nigeria. So, I mean, that is just to let you know that I'm still in touch with, Nigerians that are in Nigeria, so to say. But as far as, people here in the US, I'm really, really connected to communities. Most of the time, even if the event, if I'm not going to be comfortable, I still want to, dress and put on my, African outfit, Nigerian outfit to let them know. There are other things too that probably is not Nigerian events or occasion. I will still want to be known that yes, I'm an African, I'm a Nigerian,
Mhm,
and I am at the forefront anytime anything that has to do with Nigeria here in the New Jersey, New York, and
mhm.
tri-state in general. Yes.
Great. So you fly the Nigerian flag, which will bring me to, I guess my last question of saying, so what would you say are the benefits of international integration? Like, if somebody's saying, oh, Jide, you're a business person, you have all of the skills, you should have remained in Nigeria, or you should go back to Nigeria and develop Nigeria. Um, how would you say it's the benefit of you being here for Nigeria, Nigerians, and for the US and for the world generally?
Thank you. Well, I don't know if that is not, but if I have what it takes, right, it's just to make sure that people do the needful. The leaders will be accountable. Individuals as well should be accountable. Say for instance, it might just be maybe at the airport, as there are people in the gas station, um, the managers at the bank, and the list goes on, whereby you cannot say because you're a manager at the bank and you are influencing or not spreading money by way of, giving the brand new notes to other people to just to go and sell it. They have to be accountable for that, right? The same thing at the airport, the way people are treating passengers and collecting money from them and threatening them. Even at the gas station, the list goes on because you are in this office or in any place of authority. It doesn't mean that you have to make people's life miserable. The same thing in the hospital, whereby you have someone, loved one, they have to be asking you go and get police report, go and bring this, go and bring that before they can start treatment.
Mhm,
So with my exposure here, there is a way I will be able to kind of make a change to make sure that no, there's a better way to do this, and let them know how important people's life is. We see how animals are being kept and has been treated here. How much more
mhm,
human beings?
mhm. So awesome, awesome. We're talking about if you're joining us and you can go listen from the beginning, my guest has been Babajide Ajisafe, who's joining me from New Jersey, a professional artist, a graphic designer who's done photography work. And Jide didn't talk about his acting, but he's also an actor. And we've had the opportunity to
I forgot.
how he was foretold that he was going to go in the diaspora, and so he's a diaspora fulfilling prophecy in his own case. Looking at the blessings of the new land, he's had the opportunity to go back to school at the age of 53, married and with children. The beauty of the homeland, he misses the fact that you can be very spontaneous with your activities and do whatever it is that you want to do. He had to do some adjustment raising his children in the new land because hey, spanking is kind of like not acceptable, and you can't just leave your child with your neighbors. First and foremost, you don't even know who your neighbors are, not to talk of leaving your children with them. And talking about the benefit of this global integration, he's had some insights now, for instance, on how to provide services to people, hospital responding to people, that he can share that knowledge with members of the diaspora. And very proud of his Nigerian heritage. So if you see Jide somewhere sporting his Nigerian outfit, and don't be surprised. Jide, thank you very much for this conversation today. Are there
Oh.
any last things that you'd like to share with our listeners that we haven't covered?
Oh, well, I would just like to say that people should kind of hold on to their dreams no matter what. And if you share your dream with someone and that person is probably not having that strong conviction, then you have to share it with your spouse. If your spouse is still not like looking at it that is not possible, then you go to God. Okay, so in my own case, I probably will have just been discouraged not to go back to school. I didn't know where that boldness come from by telling the person that even if I don't go to school when I was 43, I'm
Mhm.
still going to be 50 anyways. And when I turned 50, I guess I still went to school for my master's. So with that, I want people to know that there is nothing that is not doable. If they have such dream in mind, they shouldn't allow distraction. They should prioritize it and table it before God and work towards it. It is possible.
It is possible. Keep your dreams. You can go back to school at 53, 50, at 43, at 50, or whatever age. Jude, before you go, can you tell us about your website? I know you have a photography business. People can contact you for your services. What else do you do besides photography?
Okay, thank you. Besides photography, I also an actor, which I forgot. I already acted before in on stage play in Nigeria, a national theater, somewhere in university, I think in Lorraine and Ife. Also here in America, I've acted in stage play in New York, and also there will be another show that is coming. Currently, we are working on. I'm also going to be part of one of the actors also in English and in French. I've kind of, took a role in different
Awesome.
languages. So as far as Instagram is concerned, I'm very much active. So my Instagram handle is Jide_VC. Thank you.
Awesome, great. Jude, it's been a pleasure having you today. I'm really excited. I was glad to learn about your journey. And really, I think you're probably my first guest that they're coming to America was kind of like foretold. So that is
Yes.
very interesting uh, to hear about that. And going back to school is a big deal, and how I'm glad that you had the opportunity to come here to be there. But Nigeria is very dear to our heart, and there's so many things that we miss. And yes, spontaneity is something that we miss. So glad that you could share that and all your lovely conversations. Listeners, you have been listening to the Diaspora Dialogue series with LA. I am your host, Lillian Agbeyegbe. I'm going to be coming back to you in a week's time with another episode and talking to another interesting member of the diaspora. Stay connected. Let's hear what resonates with you in this conversation. You can comment, did you have a similar experience either in the homeland or in the diaspora? And please be sure to like and share this podcast wherever you're listening to it. And we want to hear from you. So you can email me at Diaspora Dialogue Series with la@gmail.com. I look forward to hearing from you, and I'll see you next time. Or you will hear my voice next time more correctly. All right. Thank you for listening, and bye. Bye, GD.
Bye. Bye, Dr. Lillian.
Thank you.
Iṣẹ́ iṣẹ́